don't know the answer.
Yeah, well, none of us do. And it was annoying though because he's obviously thinking of something. He's picturing something in his
Yes.
head, and
Yes.
and that's kind of a drag because I want to know what that is.
Yeah.
I
As
think
do
it's
we
not
all.
fair, and I think he should apologize. I think he should come onto this show and apologize, or just talk with me, whatever. Mike Rose is with us, everybody. Mike Rose wrapping up the week. Mike T Rose at Mike T Rose on Twitter. He has a podcast called The After Show.
Yes. Aftershowpodcast.com.
Aftershowpodcast.com. Thank you very much. Mike Rose actually was the first guy to do an album side. This is a feature on this show that I think might be going away for a little while. I think it might be back for the holidays. And like I say, if there's an uproar, if there's a clamor, if people say, no, no, this can't be the last album side, then hey, I'm perfectly happy to have somebody else do, like, guide an episode of this show. That's fine. So anyway, info@macoscan.com or hit me up on Twitter or whatever. Mike Rose actually did the first album side for this show, though. It was the week that we said we could either talk about COVID-19 or things we want to talk about. And so Mike did that. And so here he is again, but I actually need one more album side. So I had this crazy idea that I would do an album side. And I apologize, Mike, because I guess that leaves you to ask me questions like, okay, what's track one? And, oh, interesting, why did you choose that? And, stuff like that.
I'm happy to do that. I got no objection.
All right.
Um,
Okay, well, here's the thing. So, really quickly, because over the past few weeks, some people have gone with themes, some people have not gone with themes. I think there's not exactly a theme to this show, except there were things that I knew needed to be on there. And just when I started thinking about, okay, what songs do I want to be there? They just sort of seemed to flow. So I think what I actually did was the thing that I talked about was building what I would not consider the perfect album side, because there are a couple of things that I don't know, they go thematically. At the same time, it could have been a really depressing, could have been five Morrissey songs in a row, so I didn't want to do that to anybody, myself included. But yeah, I started with Time by Pink Floyd, because kind of like, how do you not, it's I like songs that sort of take you places musically, not just the 3 minute positive, not to whatever up tempo song about the thing. There's a journey that happens in time, and the fact that it literally is talking about one's lifespan from the time you're born until the time you're done, how you're spending that time, whether you're wasting that time. But then it's also just musically just absolutely beautiful, I think. A little depressing, or maybe not if you're into how you're spending your time. But yeah, that's why I chose that first one.
I, I I was not familiar with the band you selected for track two.
Okay. Honestly, don't know if it's a band. It might just be a guy, sort of like Lightning Seeds or Nine Inch Nails. The band is called
Yes.
Grandaddy, or the group is called Grandaddy, or he performs under Grandaddy. It's from the album Someday, Sumday. So like add n plus add n equals sum, Someday. And the song is called The Group Who Couldn't Say. This is sort of the opposite of what we talked about yesterday, or what Allison and I talked about last week, as far as how you know you live in the future. The group
Yes.
the group who couldn't say in this story is they were the smoothest unit movers, so their bosses got them tours of the countryside, is what they say. Basically, their reward for having done such a good job is they take them outside. And the problem is people go outside and they're like, what am I doing with my life? Right. So like some of them can't get away from work. So like one guy is trying to figure out exactly how tall and wide and deep a pine tree is, so that he could, figure out how much it would cost to insure. But then you have other people who just like, who start smashing their phones and running around outside, and they're all noticing these different things they never noticed before, because they're too busy, heads down at their desks. This was a song that a friend of mine used to play in his bar. That was always kind of a fascinating thing to play, especially because that bar was in San Francisco. So this guy who was, it's actually a really good album, although again kind of not depressing exactly, but it's sort of like if you gave Blade Runner like singable tunes.
I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily go with that.
I honestly suggest the album. Someday is a good album, but if you're looking for one track off of it, the group Who Couldn't Say I thought was kind of fascinating. So that's my track number 2.
Track number 3 from a group called 357 Lover.
Yeah.
Maybe Tonight. Tonight, Tonite.
Do you know this song?
I do not know the song.
Okay.
It definitely sounded catchy when I browsed through the playlist, but or the album side, excuse me, but I don't know that song.
So some of the people that I put on here, like I didn't mean to expose anybody to Granddaddy because I think everybody should hear them, although I do think everybody should. There are some things like there'll be a They Might Be Giants song on here because there has to be, because it's me and it has to be They Might Be Giants. So Cornmo is this guy who toured a couple of times with They Might Be Giants. He was their opening act. He's originally from Dallas. He currently lives, I want to say he lives in Brooklyn or somewhere in that area. He is just this one-man force. Now, 357 Lover is a band, and he did perform with them as well. But if you ever get a chance to see him just by himself, it's kind of amazing. He's just an amazing guy. And I think everybody should listen to as much of his stuff as they can. But then Maybe Tonight is just this weird, like, celebration of maybe being late teens, early 20s. It's about this guy who sees a girl at the mall. He like he's just ordered a pizza and Coke, and it's still sitting there waiting for him, but he sees this girl and he's completely taken, and so he's going to give her the best night that she's ever had, but it's, you know, maybe tonight I'll take you out for ice cream. Or maybe tonight I'll take you out to dinner. And, like, you know, all the different places they might go in the mall. There's something like huge about the song. It's got this whole like late 70s, early 80s arena rock vibe about some of the most mundane things in the world, and yet a celebration of, you know, of the things that we have or the things we might be able to do.
Apparently at some point in his career, and I had heard of Cornmo before, but I did not know that this was the name of his band, or his backing band.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize that at one point he was in a tribute band called Tragedy, which is an all-metal Bee Gees cover act.
I did not know that either. That's
I'm amazed.
Awesome.
That is our Wikipedia fact of the week. I've heard of him before, but I've not listened to his music, so I'm now actually really looking forward to diving into a Cornmo deep dive.
There you go. He reminds me, honestly, he doesn't remind me of Jonathan Coulton, and that I think Jonathan Coulton is more of a serious songwriter, I think, but always going for the joke. Cornmo, on the other hand, is writing weird songs about weird things. Like there's one called Busey Boy that's all about a guy who is always confused with Gary Busey. So everywhere he goes, people are like, weren't you in the Buddy Holly story? Weren't you in the Lethal Weapon? I mean, he's a funny guy. So yeah, he's worth checking out, I think. I mean, none of this is I mean, honestly, Maybe Tonight is probably the best, like, according to Hoyle, song you're going to find. I think he's worth listening to, though, because a lot of his stuff is really funny.
That is a great selection, and I will follow it up. The fourth track from the album Frank's Wild Years, the inimitable, and I shouldn't say inimitable because, of course, he can be imitated, but he cannot be replaced.
Right.
Tom Waits, the song Innocent When You Dream, Barroom.
Yeah, the Barroom version, yeah, because there are two versions of Innocent When You Dream on Frank's Wild Years. There's the 78, and then there's also the Barroom version. And this is one of those songs that even when I sit here and start to talk about it, I get emotional. There's something sad and yet wonderful about this song. And I was listening to it, putting together this playlist. He sounds like a dog, man. I mean, he sounds like he's not like a boy. He's got a terrible voice. I mean, he's like growling through this, but not in an angry way, not in a bad way, not in a happy way either. It's melancholy plus. There's something about it though that's like so much Tom Waits stuff. That's both hopeful and tragic and sad, all of it at once. Maybe I'm mishearing the lyrics, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but the bad things this guy has done, the things that seem off kilter to him. Um, uh, Innocent When You Dream is sort of like there's like this 5 minutes in life where you're blameless. 5 minutes in life where you don't have to worry about it. There's this little time where it's all fine. And maybe that's when you're sleeping and dreaming, or maybe that's when you're thinking of the kinds of things you could do. Also, if you don't listen to Tom Waits, I don't know what's wrong with you.
I always think of Tom Waits' voice makes me think of the Edward Hopper painting Nighthawks.
Sure.
But it's not any of the people in the picture. It's the guy in the alley around the corner from the restaurant who's who's passed out in a pile of newspapers. There is another musician who is vocally sometimes compared to Tom Waits, although he's far less growly. Was Greg Brown, folk singer Greg Brown. Also very very baritone, low baritone. And if you track down the concept album version of Hadestown, so Hadestown became a workshop musical and then became a Broadway musical back when we used to have Broadway musicals. And it's by Anais Mitchell. But when Anais Mitchell originally recorded it, she recorded it with friends in Vermont. And so she has people like Annie DeFranco and other amazing artists on that concept album. But Hades is sung by Greg Brown. One of his big songs is called Hey Little Songbird. Swear to you, it's you might think it's Tom Waits the first time you're listening to it. It's very low.
What is the Tom Waits album that had William Burroughs on it? Had the song The Briar and the Rose on it. It was another concept album that was sort of like, it was not quite like an opera, but it was a going through some kind of story. That's another one that's kind of interesting, but that's not a track, that's an album. And we have one more track that we have to get to, which
more track
probably you should have said to me, but I'm conscious of.
Hey Ken, we have one more track that we have to get to.
Oh, we do.
We're running short of time.
Oh, okay.
But it's a good thing because it's the shortest track on the album side, coming in at only 1 minute 52 seconds.
Yeah.
From a band known for packing a lot of abbreviated songs onto an album.
Yep.
Brooklyn's own They Might Be Giants.
Brooklyn's Ambassadors of Love. Yes. Although interesting, this song comes from an album called Lincoln, which is where they grew up. Lincoln, Massachusetts.
Not Lincoln, Nebraska.
Not Lincoln, Nebraska. No, Lincoln, Massachusetts. Yeah, They Might Be Giants. It's called Kiss Me, Son of God, which is probably, like, you can listen to a lot of They Might Be Giant stuff and say, I think they're talking about this, or, oh, I think that might be about that, right? And sometimes they'll lie and they're like, song's not about anything. There's no way Particle Man's not about anything, no matter how many times they say it is. Kiss Me, Son of God, though, is just... I always assumed, coming out when it did in the late 80s, I always assumed it was about televangelists, but it could be about any number of things at this point, basically using one group of people's belief in an idea or an ideal, and an ideology maybe, and just using it for your own gain. And there's still a sense of humor to it. There's one line in particular that never ceases to make me laugh, or never fails to make me laugh. Because I do cease laughing at some point.
We all do.
But it never fails to make me laugh. And like Mike said, if you don't like it, it's less than 2 minutes. You can go ahead and just knock that off the playlist, and then go about your day.
Aren't we at the 20th or 25th anniversary of Flood? They Might Be Giants album Flood.
Oh God, I love you. No, 30th anniversary. Yeah,
30.
They were supposed to be touring this year for the 30th anniversary. Yeah, because the first song, the theme to Flood is why is the world in love again? Why are we marching hand in hand? Why are the ocean levels rising up? It's a brand new record for 1990.
For 1990. Oh
yeah.
My God.
They Might Be Giants' brand new album, Flood. Yeah, they were touring the world. They were supposed to tour the world this year, performing Flood. I was thinking about sneaking off to see them because I'm thinking about visiting the world, or I was. But of course now TMBG is not doing that. So maybe like, the 32nd or 33rd year, maybe they could do the 30th anniversary edition of Flood. Who knows? Hey, something, I don't know if you know this or not. I don't know if you remember, but I'll take over this part if you're okay. I've been posting all of these as playlists on Apple Music. So if you search for macOS Ken, all one word, or if you search for Ken Ray, you should find them. This one I have tentatively called The Final Cut for now. So so I hope people listen and I hope they enjoy it. And dude, it is always a pleasure. I'm sorry about the technical issues that I had this week, but it's just always so much fun to have you on, and I really appreciate every time you stop by.